Hello, this is a quick video review activity for studying for quiz 1 in Harmony 3. So just to remind you, as of this current semester, and usually I do this every semester, I publish a study guide, which basically is takes the form of a table of common chord scales of the ones that you should know for the test. Um, Categorized by, the type of chord, diatonic major key, secondary dominance in a major key, modal interchange in a major key, and so on. It tells the name of the scale and tells what the available tensions are. So that's available. There's also, usually I publish a video where I explain the table as well, but it's pretty self-explanatory. And then I publish practice quizzes. So I'm just going to quickly sum up the things that you need to know. You need to know what are the default chord scales for diatonic chords, the default chord scales for secondary dominance in a major key, the default chord scales for common modal interchange modal interchange chords that occur in a major key, the common chord scale for extended dominance, related twos, and then a few extra dominant chord scales, and then the common chord scales for minor 7 flat 5 chords. Some semesters you'll also be responsible for knowing all the minor chord scales at this point as well. So they're all listed there. Knowing the available tensions, being able to write the chord scales, all of this is important. So the actual design of the quiz is that you analyze the harmony first in question 1. Then from that you determine, from your knowledge of what are the default chord scales for different chord functions, you write out the required chord scales that are numbered, so the numbers correspond to particular chords, or measure numbers rather. So this F sharp 7 in measure 1, that's what you're writing there. This F major 7 in measure 3, that's what you're writing there. So you have to know that extended dominants typically take mixed Lydian with tensions 9 and 13, regardless whether they're diatonic or not. You have to know that diatonic chords typically take diatonic chord scales with diatonic tensions. You have to know that modal interchange major 7s typically take Lydian. Modal interchange minor 7s typically take Dorian. Modal interchange dominant 7s, like flat 7, 7, and so on, typically take Lydian flat 7. And modal interchange minor 7 flat 5s typically take Locrian. You still have to check your melody to make sure that there isn't some deviation or some variation on the usual. Like in this example, there was a Ionian scale used on a 4 major 7 because that often happens when 4 major 7 is preceded by 5, 7, and 4. So you have to check up on those things. But 90-something% of the chord scales in the test will be the default chord scales, the typical chord scales. When you have to provide an alternate dominant scale for 5, 7, and 1, you can pick anything that's a variation on straight mixo, which has 9 and 13. So mixo flat 13, mixo flat 9, flat 13, mixo flat 9 sharp 9, flat 13. Any of those scales would be legitimate variations here. If you've had the time to study and learn the altered scale, that's a good choice. The symmetric dominant scale, that's a good choice. But any altered form of mixed Lydian would be a correct answer there. On page 2, typically you'll have another major key progression, have to analyze it, watch out for accidentals, and answer what is the chord scale based on your knowledge of default chord scales. There's no melody that you have to check here. It's just about knowing what the default chord scale is and knowing what the note content is. For example, here this C7 actually has a flat 9 in it, even though typically on 5, 7, and 1 you would do mixed Lydian with a natural 9. But this actual chord voicing has a flat 9 in it, so you have to capture that and choose a chord scale that has flat 9 in it. There are often multiple correct answers for a number of these scales, so I'll accept any correct answer that isn't contradicted by anything in the notes there. Okay, then after you watch this video, you're going to go to the assignment. You'll see in the assignment that you have a link to a Google form assessment. So this is You have to get credit for this, you type in the text field under this assignment, I watched the review video, and then you go and follow this link to the Google form and answer the questions. So it'll look like this, and you'll just go down, say which section you're from, and then you will answer these questions. And when you complete this quiz, you'll get your responses. You'll realize how many you got right and wrong. And if you get some wrong, that gives you a clue as to what you might need to review. So that's it. I hope the review process goes smoothly for you. And remember, you have at least one and probably two posted practice quizzes to go through. And feel free to reach out during an office hour or whatever if you need extra help before the quiz.